If you're here, it's because a life force wants you here. Your specific way of seeing the world is one of the threads of the web of life. And if one breaks, it affects the whole web, right? It's really understanding that we are so connected that each of our perspectives matter. It's not about how successful you are, do you have a partner or not. It's not about that. It's like the way you perceive the world matters.
Welcome to the Fire, Soul, and Grace podcast. I'm Dr. Kristi Tompkins, functional medicine practitioner and transformational coach. If you are looking to up-level your health in body, mind, and spirit, scale your business, improve your relationships, and create a life you love, you are in the right place. Every other week, we'll bring you a topic and feature incredible guests worldwide. Be inspired and feel empowered to live your life with greater joy, meaning, and purpose. I'm excited you're here. Let's get started. Welcome to the Fire, Soul, and Grace podcast. I'm Dr. Kristi, and today I am really excited for my guest today. Her name is Claudia Barfoot. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
And I'm so excited to talk with you. I was looking over your website and I was just fascinated by the amazing work that you're doing. So a little bit about Claudia. Claudia is an integrative mental health specialist, ancestral healing practitioner, dream worker, ceremonialist, that's a mouthful, and transformational guide. Throughout a 20-year career as a psychodynamic psychotherapist and trauma-informed mental health professional, Claudia has guided hundreds of people to allow their truths to emerge, encourage them to honor themselves, to allow all of who they are to belong, and to let their self-discovery transform their lives. With the same gravitas, the 25 years Claudia spent exploring, apprenticing, and practicing ancestral ways of knowing, healing, and experiencing the world has provided her with enough roadmaps to help navigate their internal world and its depths, their interdependence to the outer world, and their connection to the spiritual world. So welcome, Claudia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy and excited to see where this goes.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I love your background. I love your background, and I love kind of how your career has evolved. And as I mentioned just before we started, I was looking over your website and I just was, and by the way, you're a beautiful writer. For those of you who want to, we'll have you provide your website address at the end of the show, but you're a beautiful writer.
Thank you.
The way that you express your professional background, but kind of blending that with some of the personal experiences that you've had, it's just, you're very articulate.
Oh, thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what led you down this path. I know you initially trained as a mental health psychotherapist. So what led you down that path originally?
Well, originally, I think it's at the core, it's been my love for humanity. I think since I was a child, I'm a very giving person. Like I have like this impulse to just be there and give and listen and love human beings. So I think at the core is like my love for this human experience. It's been there forever. So I guess I chose at the beginning like psychology and all of that just because I was always curious about, I guess, like why do we do the things we do or the things that didn't make sense to me. I needed to understand. So I think I have a very strong curiosity to the why, what's behind our behavior, what we see, why do we do things that can be damaging to others too, right? So that's how I ended up in that path, really. But I would say it's my curiosity and my love for human beings.
Yeah, and as you know, human beings are very, very, very complex, and I think those people that reach out or pursue the path of personal growth, therapy, personal development, in whatever capacity, I think it's not enough just to do, healthy diet, exercise, education, but to go down that path of self-discovery, or ways of improving yourself or making your life better, better understanding why we do the things we do, why we're stuck in certain patterns, why we choose certain partners, why we stay stuck. I think it's fascinating.
Mhm.
The human mind, the human brain, the human spirit. I think it's all very, very interesting, and I think it takes a lot of courage to go down that path as well. So I want to talk a little bit about your ancestral. So let's kind of talk a little bit about that, like as far as like some of the work that you've done. Looks like you've done some training with some different practitioners over the years.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
What brought you to that work?
The same curiosity, I think that there was like this wanting or need. There was almost like a need, like I need to understand humans, right? And at the same time, like I guess in my culture, right, in Mexico, there's an openness to talk about. I mean, we have Date of the Dead, right? Like there's an openness to feel like there's another world, and we can connect to it, right? So I think that was easy in the sense of like there's openness with that. So I was always curious, I guess, with the boundaries of consciousness, right? Always exploring meditation, exploring other healing practices, curanderismo in Mexico. Then here in the once I moved to the U.S., finding who were like the shamans, right? Like I was always trying to find who are the people that have done this forever, and I want to learn from them. So I have trained with a few maestros or maestras, right? One specific one is her name is Irma, Star Spirit Turtle Woman. She lives in New York. She's like my big maestra. But I've had many teachers, and life in itself is a good teacher. I think if you're
Oh, it
open,
is.
if you're open to actually noticing how much we learn every single day.
So the shaman that you trained with, did you actually go out and stay in her presence, or did you go
It
to a
was more
certain
learning from
location?
her. It was more learning through her, right? Like all her teachings, the way the modality she uses for healing, and for understanding the mind and its openness. I think I learned also about dreams with her. So I do have like this the two paths, right? Like the psychology, the very mind center thing, and also like the psychoanalytic, right? The unconscious and the dreams through that lens. And I have the other lens. So dreams can also be a connection to the spiritual world, and also with your body. That I don't think that enough people talk about how much we can actually sense things that are not going, the way they should in our bodies, and sometimes that shows up in dreams. So I guess for me, it's this idea of communication. Can we communicate with ourselves? Can we communicate with the other world? I guess, and can we communicate with each other? I think that's also at the core of all my curiosities, I think now it weaves in a very beautiful way. Once upon a time, I always felt it needed to be divided, but it's actually no, it's one and the same thing. Right? It's like everything is connected, as you all know, right? With the physical body and its health. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there's you touched on a lot of good points there. There's a lot of ways to connect with that, um, the, the spiritual aspect of our being, whether it's through intuition, if you're tuning into that consciously, through dreams, as you said, through other types of modalities, which we'll get into,
Yeah.
like plant medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the dreams are really interesting because I think, like a lot of people, they say, I can't remember them, or it didn't make sense, it's meaningless, it's just something that happens when I go to sleep at night and close my eyes. But I actually do think there's a lot of meaning behind that, whether it's something that has to do with something maybe we're struggling with that we haven't quite resolved. Maybe it's something, I know from time to time I have dreamt about things that didn't really make sense at the
Mm-hmm.
time. But then many years later, I'm like, God, I could have swore I dreamt about this many years ago. So almost like that prophetic vision. And then I think sometimes it helps us understand ourselves, but it also helps us understand other people as well. And
Yeah.
it can have a deeper meaning if you really want to dive into that. And so I know that's one of your specialties. That's one of the things that you love. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, dreams are my jam. Yes, I guess it started with my psychoanalytic background, right? Because as part of my own training and my own psychoanalysis, I was talking about my dreams like 3 times a week. Right? It was part of the work of understanding how dreams they feel like they have no, they make no sense, but if you know try to understand the language of dreams, they totally make sense. Not all of them. I have to say that sometimes, like even for me, it's hard to know. Like I don't know about that one, but it's still like an invitation. Have a conversation with whatever your mind created. I think that's also very important to me. That shows how creative we can be and how much we can think out of the box if we allow ourselves to actually go beyond rationality. Uh-huh. And actually, a lot of creative people, some scientists, not a lot of them, but some have confessed that some of their like biggest breakthroughs have come through dreams. So there's actually an intelligence in not judging and being open to other ways of thinking. So that's how I started. And I think that created for many years my own practice in the sense of understanding the changes I was going through my dreams, right? Because the landscapes change, the topics change, dreams change as we change. But it really requires sometimes years to notice the difference. But there's a way of knowing how dreams work. Always stay with the emotion. The emotion always comes through in a pure way. The rest, you can pay attention if you want to, if you feel it's pertinent, if you feel there's something in this dream that's possible, that it's creating this curiosity that I think I feel or I sense I need to understand this. That's when you explore a dream. Sometimes you might just dream, just let it go. Because they disappear sometimes, right? As soon as we wake up, like it's gone. Hmm. And other times, some dreams stay with us for years and years. Or a specific nightmare can stay, right? It was so dramatic that it's like, oof, I cannot forget about that dream.
Yeah, and again, that's also a clue or a very clear sign that something needs to be resolved. If you're dreaming about the same topic, the same event, or something similar to that, that's obviously your brain saying this is not come to a close yet. This is something that still needs to be processed in a way that's much healthier. And I think for a lot of people, they whether it's past trauma or a past fear-based event, I think a lot of people sometimes want to escape and just do other things to kind of numb that and think that it'll go away. And sometimes, I suppose with time, sometimes things can, but the body holds on to a lot. The brain, just
Yeah.
actually every cell in our body. And there's lots of research and lots of books out there written on that topic of how the body keep score, literally. Like it's holding on to those memories of the past, and sometimes good, not always bad, but the body kind of knows. And if it keeps coming up and keeps coming up to the surface, or keeps coming up in our dreams, I think that's an indication that
Mhm.
some deeper work possibly needs to happen to get that resolved. You brought up something really interesting about waking up, and I know you talk about this, and I definitely want to hear more from you about a visitation from somebody maybe that has passed, or in some cases, sometimes this happens before somebody has passed away, like maybe somebody's not doing well, or struggling with their health, or they're on their last few days of life. I know for me, I have dreamt about people that have passed,
Mhm.
whether it was a long time ago, maybe years ago, but I also know of a cousin of mine who passed away, maybe it's been about 9 years now. And it was a few days after she passed, and I dreamt about her, and it was clear, like as if she was right in front of me, and we were talking, and there wasn't a lot of words. It was just more, I saw her and I was happy. So again, like you said, there was more of the emotions. And then I woke up, and I literally, like, I dreamt about her, and then the dream was probably only a few seconds, and then I woke up and I thought, oh my God, I feel like she was just here.
Mhm.
And I know for a lot of people, feeling and seeing them is just that sign that they're okay.
Mhm.
Tell us more about that.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I mean I've learned a lot about dreams through books, through other teachers, with other perspectives about dreams, but also dreams in themselves can be a teacher. Right? So my experience with working with dreams is the way that I see it or explain it. It's somewhat like a being a planet. You as a person, like a planet with different, you want to say moons, or the other way around. You're the sun, and you have a lot of planets going around you. Dreams have a same quality, but at the same time, they come from different places. So I do think there are dreams that are more about our own psyche, our own issues that need to be resolved. I feel there's dreams that are more visitation dreams, more connection to the spiritual world. I think there are dreams that there are kind of announcements of things that might happen, right? Or things that will happen. So there's different qualities to dreams, right? So visitations dreams are a common thing, I think. And again, like some of them, you might dream with a person that has passed, and it's more your own processing of the loss. And at times, your body and your feeling will tell you, this was actually the person in itself saying goodbye. Right? I've had clients that had dreams actually before the person dies, right? Like almost like the announcement that I want to say goodbye before I leave. Some are very clear with a clear message, and other times it's just the presence of like I'm here just to tell you that I'm here, right? I'm still here somehow, some way. So yeah, that there's it's a common thing, and the other way around too. That's when a person dies, and at times for women, it's sometimes common to have if they're called precognitive dreams also or preconception dreams. There's women that can dream about the babies they're going to have. So there's always this connection between the end and the beginning of life that can, and sometimes dream become the filter that will let you know that there's something before, like a new baby comes to this world, and after a person passes away.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you. And it brings up the concept of time, like time and space. And is there really time? I mean, we know that the seasons change and we get older from a 3D or physical perspective. But I think sometimes in different realms and different realities, quote, sometimes there is no time. And that's why we're able to connect with maybe our future baby or our future person that we might encounter, or maybe a home that we're going to buy, or any kind of circumstance, because which is so hard for the human brain to wrap your head around, your brain around the concept that perhaps we're able to see, go back and forth, whether it's our past or our future. But yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. With regard to the dream work, I know you do one-on-one, and I don't know how you integrate that into your offerings and your services. I'm assuming it's if somebody has a dream that is relevant to maybe what they're struggling with, that probably comes up. And I know you do the one-on-one dream work with your clients, but you also do dream circles.
Yeah.
You've done that in the past. So what is that experience like? Because I think I've participated in a few of those over the years. It's been a while, but those are fascinating too.
Well, that comes, at least in my perspective, more from actually indigenous communities, because what they do, and I've been there for some of them, as soon as they wake up, they share their dream. That's what matters. Like in the morning, having breakfast. Where were you last night, basically, right? And they share their dreams because it's a practice of understanding that there's something beyond this world, and also because in their belief, dreams are also sometimes meant for the community. The idea that I might have a dream and I can share it, but it's going to touch something in someone else. So the idea of a dream circle is that, like, let's bring a dream and we will touch each other. There's something that's going to resonate about our stories or about emotions or the landscape of something. There will be a connection. So it creates this very beautiful weaving of seeing how we all dream, how we all need to confront our fears sometimes through dreams, how we practice and find solutions sometimes, or sometimes it's just the repetition of something that just needs to be resolved. So when you do that in community, it creates a very beautiful and creative sense of let's use this other way of thinking for the benefit of all of us. Because the themes of what we dream are very like we dream about the same stuff. It looks different because we have different creative minds, but it's usually the same thing. Can I be loved? Am I on time? Am I well prepared for life? What am I losing? Am I having fun? Can I dare fly when I'm dreaming? Like this, like it's like the human experience, really. What are our limits? So doing a dreaming circle creates this sharing and this like human understanding. Other techniques that I use that it's called dream reentry. If you want to explore a dream more, you can. It's called like dreaming the dream further, right? It's really trying to go back to the dream and dream a little bit more if you need to explore a specific topic or to see what happened after you wake up, right? The idea is that the dreams have no ending. It's just that we wake up. Mm-hmm. So if you want to explore something, you can go back to the dream. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that I usually do using the drum, for example, is like, let's go back to dreaming if you want to explore more. And then people, come back with more. They are able to see more about the dream that they needed to understand it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would say that, similar to sharing in any type of circle or gathering, that if somebody is sharing something about their dream, it can often reignite or help people remember maybe something about their dream, either the night before or maybe a previous dream. So it kind of triggers that, oh, yeah, I've had those dreams before. I've had the dreams of flying. I've had the dreams of swimming in an ocean by myself or running from something. So it kind of, I think it can be, like you said, very therapeutic and healing for other people as well, but also kind of awakening and eye-opening for people to kind of discover what maybe was within them, but they just forgot. So I want to talk about you. I know you've done a little bit of plant medicine, a little bit of psilocybin. What's your experience been with that in helping people? And one of the things that I read from your website, it has the possibility of showing places or circumstances that are unresolved, or where conflict is stored, or something that, again, that's kind of stuck in the body or stuck in the brain
Mm-hmm.
somehow. But it also can open up creative opportunities for healing. So what's been your experience in working with people with psilocybin?
Well, my experience is like, for example, like in Mexico, in the Mazatec tradition, right? The idea of the way Maria Sabina used to call like the mushrooms. It's like the same children. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind it is that psilocybin is going to go and touch your inner child. Right? It's going to find its way through the core wound that you're carrying. Right? But it's also going to touch the playfulness. It's also going to touch the joy, right? So that's why it creates like this beautiful way of. Because the thing about being an adult is like you can open up your perspective a lot, but it can also become very rigid, right? And what's possible and when it's not possible. And the childlike mind opens up for everything. Mm-hmm. So using that medicine specifically can open both, right? It's going to open whatever you're needing to see and feel in the moment, and at the same time, it's going to open up a new way of thinking about it, a more expansive way of connecting something that you weren't able to connect, right? So for some people, it's very healing in the way that they feel better, they feel happier, more creative. But it can also create the other way around, right? It can also be for people a medicine that opens up the grief they haven't felt or allow themselves to feel. Mm-hmm. So they might feel very emotional, and it's okay. I think that the thing about this, plant or psilocybin medicine is open for whatever comes. There's an intelligence in this, like fungi or plants, and you need to trust the intelligence that is going to take you to your own healing intelligence, because only you know what is it that is hurting you for real. Mm-hmm. What is it that you're carrying? So I think it really opens the door. Of course, like therapy and other ways of healing are helpful, like absolutely. It's just that with plants, it just goes to the point. Like there's no introduction or gaining trust. Is like just go here. This is what you need. So I find it very on point, I would say. So a lot of the work that I do, it's more the integration that what happens afterwards. For some people, it's very clear what they are thinking or how they are resolving whatever they need to resolve. Or for other people, they just see a lot of images that they don't understand. So it's very dreamlike. Mm-hmm. So that's why, like for me, it felt like a perfect match. Like, oh, that's kind of language I know how to read. So I'll help you find a way of integrating it into your life, because the idea of all these experiences, right, of expansion of consciousness is you need to ground yourself back. You do have a body in the here and now, Whatever you experience, it needs to help you in your daily life so that you can be more present, so that you can love yourself more, and so that you can love others more. Mhm. So that's basically like whatever happens, it needs to take you to this place of be present. You're here, in the here and now, you belong to this earth, and let's love it.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And whatever natural medicines can help facilitate that, especially like you mentioned, the playfulness and the childlike, almost like it takes you back to this innocence as a child before, like you said, with the influences of and the expectations and the stressors of life and adulthood and going through the different phases of your life. It takes you back to that time where you were very impressionable, and actually probably more well, there's more programming that takes place before the age of 7, but it also kind of is just you're very open. And think about, a child that is very loving and playful and kind of opens up their arms to hug you. And little kids want to be friends with everybody, like animals. They just, assuming they trust, they are
Yeah.
so open to love, and they know that they belong, and they know that they're worthy. And then all of a sudden, a certain age happens, maybe later in grade school, junior high, high school, and all of a sudden it's like the walls come up.
Mm-hmm.
So anything to kind of facilitate that reopening and that innocence and that creativeness, so that you can create the things that you want in your life.
Yeah.
Do your clients typically do the psilocybin one time, or is this something that they do over different times depending on the person?
Depending on the person, I personally encourage people to do it not as frequently. I have found a lot of people doing it, I would say, like many times a year, or mixing one plant and the other one, and they're kind of chasing the experience more than have one, integrate one. And once you make sure, you might not need another one. But if you do, then go ahead, right? I think it's person to person, situation to situation. But just like give yourself time. That's the point. Hmm. Instead of just going, because that also creates this. It can be such a like a magical and transformational experience that people want to go back to that. And part of the integration is grieving that you don't need to live in that specific world all the time. As you have access, notice that maybe we are connected to everything. Everything is alive, and then come back here with that knowledge and enjoy what you have. So it really depends.
And I think it's easy for a lot of people to chase that euphoria, that feeling,
Mhm.
um, with a lot of different experiences too. It can
Yeah.
become addictive.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know you do different kinds of other types of ceremonies.
Mhm.
Is that something that what types of ceremonies are you doing with? I'm assuming, obviously, with a group of people. What are some
Mhm.
of your favorite
For,
ceremonies to
for
host?
some people, it's a group of people. For others, it's individual, like a private or ceremony. If they are going through a very big change, I create the kind of the sacred space for them to a whole space for the change. I would say, right? So kind of the ceremonies is usually to recover a part of yourself that you need. Mhm. In other cultures, it's called like soul loss. For some others, in my culture, it's called susta. This idea that everything that is traumatic or unexpected shakes you, and shakes you in a way that a part of yourself separates a little bit from you. Mhm. So it's more the disconnection. And part of the healing ceremonies is about let's bring back whatever you're disconnected from, because everything we've been and everything we are is needed. It's energy at the end of the day. Like you need that part of yourself to be a wholesome person. So I do kind of, it's called soul retrieval. It's finding those parts of the soul that you've lost and you need. I do it usually only with the drum. Um, I also use sound baths and other like musical instruments, but it's I like the drum. I would say it's the one that really takes you and helps you find what you need to find.
I've gone to a few different sound healing ceremonies where maybe it's the crystal bowls,
Mhm.
maybe it's a drum, maybe there's some other musical instrument. There's some sort of aroma sometimes as well at the ceremony. Maybe singing, yeah, and it's amazing how certain sounds, the vibration of certain sounds can evoke certain emotions, feelings,
Mm-hmm.
or you feel them in certain parts of your body, like
Yeah.
like a drum. For me, kind of feels a bit more grounding and a bit more like that first chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Although it can definitely, I can feel it probably in different parts of my body. What is your experience with like the sound vibration, and how it can stimulate healing or emotions to come up for people?
Well, the drum is a thing of its own. It takes you, I agree with you, like to the lower chakras, like really to the groundness of your body and also to the earth. But then from the, if you feel the earth, and you can go down into a cave, and then you're in a different world too, right? It's more like an underground earthly energy, right? With the bowls, I feel it's really you go up, you go to a different sky-like, spacey, like like vibration, and that's kind of the images that I feel when I'm using the crystal bowls. But the interesting thing about there's a difference I think with the crystal bowls is that the frequency or the sound is going to resonate in your body, right? And it's going to make you notice sometimes when you're in pain in certain parts or areas that you've never maybe noticed. I kind of feel that it's really helpful when you're dealing with physical stuff. Something that I don't fully find with the drum, for example. Personally, I feel that the drum takes you somewhere else in your consciousness, and the bowls they do too, but they also make you notice in your body where you need to release something. So they give you different information, I would say. I do like mixing them all because all of them give you different information.
It may be similar to like music, especially with like meditation. I follow Dr. Joe Dispenza, and we have this group meditation that we get together every week. And there's several of those that happen throughout the world, but there's several in our region. And I've been getting together with this particular group for about a year. And it changes, like people come and go, we get new people, we get the same people. And it's just we were just all commenting last night about the beautiful energy of the group. And sometimes you don't even know the people, you've just met them, or maybe you saw them one time but you don't really know their name, you don't know anything about them, but you instantly feel that connection, that kindred spirit, or that just that inherent knowing of, I like you, I don't know you, but I feel safe around you, I feel peaceful around you. And listening to chanting or listening to music, depending on the sound quality, is enough to take you. And it could be crystal balls, like crystal bowls, it could be a drum, it could be a woman singing, it could be just simply the sound of whatever musical instrument. And that has the ability to maybe take you to a different place, but also just heal your body and help you feel that sense of like surrender
Mm-hmm.
and peacefulness. And the ceremony that we had last night was this coherence healing with some other people, some other participants in our group. And it was a beautiful ceremony of music, meditation, but also supporting other people who needed help
Mm-hmm.
in healing too. And for me, that was incredibly healing because it just brought me to a place that was, giving, but also receiving at the same time, all immersed in community, in a circle, with the sound of music. And it was just, I was so grateful to experience something like that, and other people express the same thing. And I think there is something very sacred about not just coming together in a circle, but when you have that similar resonance with how you're feeling, and what your intention is. I think that has the ability to not only heal yourself but other people as well, whether they know it or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Something else I would like to add about sound is that like there's like sound baths and all of that, and they're very helpful and peaceful, and they can be very healing and releasing. But there's also a place for dissonance, right? Sounds that are uncomfortable, sounds that they're like kind of shaky instead of making you calm. And those are the sounds that sometimes like shamans use more. The idea like they're going to move a different energy. You're not going to feel peaceful for a moment, but if you like keep going, you will release something you need to release. Because sometimes like harmony and beauty. Of course, it's healing, but I'm also, I don't know. I guess I enjoy this other side of like, yeah, but also dissonance and comfortable with, pitches and sounds can also take you to a place of releasing something different, of a different quality.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't want to go there, or it's uncomfortable, or they're not aware that it's coming up, and they want to quickly close the door on that. But I think that's, it's like any kind of healing, even physically, like when you have a wound or you've broken a bone or some sort of injury, I mean, it's painful, it's raw, it's tender in the beginning, and you have to go through that period of okay, that's the body integrating itself and reconnecting with itself, and hopefully in a different way, in a better way. So I think physically that can happen, not always, but the body can sometimes heal in a better way, but also I think mentally too, and spiritually, psychologically, things need to come up so that it can be released.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So what are some other things that you like to do with people, whether in a one-on-one setting or a group setting, to allow them to process their whatever they're healing? And I want to go back to your website, because you had such beautiful things about kind of better understanding yourself, but your place in this world, and knowing, and I think you touched on this a little bit ago, about knowing that you belong here, knowing that you belong on this planet, because there's a lot of people, countless people that feel like they don't want to be here, like they don't belong, like they don't fit in, and they're so different than everybody else. And people that are contemplating, no longer being here anymore. What are some things that you like to address with them or use with them to help them understand that they do in fact belong here?
I think it's a mix in between having like deep, honest conversations. It's also like the healing modalities that I use, and it's also to me it's the expansion of expanding the perspective. Right, we are very human centered, family centered. We have very fixed ways of thinking about life. Right? Was I loved like enough by my parents? Does that make me worthy of life? But if you truly get out of this human centered view, if you're here, it's because a life force wants you here. Your specific way of seeing the world is one of the threads of the web of life. And if one breaks, it affects the whole web, right? It's really understanding that we are so connected that each of our perspectives matter. It's not about how successful you are, do you have a partner or not. It's not about that. It's like you, the way you perceive the world matters. Matters just to hold the whole web. Mm-hmm. It matters for that, and then if you share it, like more beautiful even, right? So it's really understanding that life goes beyond what we achieve, the people that are around us, everything of that like matters, but it's like our position in the world. It can be as expansive as being successful and influencing a lot of people, or as humble as you in your home, connecting to your family, seeing them, loving them, talking to them, preparing a beautiful or delicious meal. Like those little things that we do every single day are part of the web of life, are part of the giving, are part of the you belong here because you're doing something for yourself and for others. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's really the reminder of, I think it matters to feel certain parts of our story, but to me, it matters more to go beyond our story. Who am I? As a person, like I am Claudia and I have a story, but I'm more than that. Mm-hmm. Do I have a role? Probably. I'm not trying to make it right. The more you kind of allow yourself to belong to this life because you're already here, you'll find there's a reason and there's a way. If you go like step by step, you might not see very far ahead, but as long as you see today, one more thing, one day at a time, I'll try to enjoy life.
That was beautiful. And yeah, that was beautiful. And really, one of the things I ask all my clients is, what do you love to do?
Mm.
What do you do to, sometimes I phrase it as, what do you do to relieve stress?
Mm.
What do you truly love to do? And a lot of times those are the same. And I was just talking with a client this morning, and she was like, I love to paint. And I was like, I never knew that. For some people, they love to cook, or they love to play a musical instrument, or maybe for some people they just like to sit down and read a book with a cup of tea. Like it's just, or travel. And I think reminding people of what they truly love. And I think it's easy to get lost, or maybe not lost, but maybe forget, especially if you're going through something stressful and something that is taking up, it's preoccupying your mind a lot. And so getting kind of back into, and maybe it's something, it's a new discovery about yourself, but a lot of times it's something that you used to do from so many years ago. It's kind of reminding yourself of what brings you back to yourself, and what makes you feel grounded and safe. And it's that those moments or those activities or those hobbies or those experiences that really lower those stress hormones and really get you to that place where you can feel more connected to yourself, and you can feel more like you belong. And like you said a little bit ago, the fact that you're here is obviously the perfect sign that you belong here. The fact that you are still here on this planet and you were brought here. But I think just allowing people to, not allowing, but asking people to get in touch with what warms their heart. And it's not always about scrolling social media and seeing what other people are doing and posting something so we get this recognition. And I know that's all part of our society now, especially if you own a business and you're trying to promote your business and services, or yourself, maybe you're an influencer. But I think that also comes with a little bit of a trap, because disconnecting from that for certain hours of the day or certain times of the year, or certain days of the week, I think is extremely healthy to get back into that conscious or spiritual connection to yourself. I think it's really important.
Sometimes, happiness happens in the most simple way, but it requires presence and recognition. And sometimes it sounds simple, but that's the challenge.
Yeah, and it could be travel, although, that can be simple for some people, but it doesn't have to be travel. It could be outside on a walk, right? It could just be taking your dog around the block. It could be going to a park, and or just, I live in this well, you and I both live in Colorado, but like I live in this beautiful area where there's little bunny rabbits that run all the way. They run around and they're so cute. And my dog loves to chase them, and and just seeing, like, God, even just enjoying or savoring the change of seasons. It wasn't too long ago that we had snow on the ground, and all the trees were barren and they had no leaves, and it was so cold, and they looked like these stiff skeletons. And I just, all of a sudden, within just literally, it seemed like just a few days, all of a sudden I could see like trees and the leaves and the flowers. And now I can't even see the sidewalk outside my window, because the trees are just in full bloom, and they're completely blocking the street now. And it's just like, just savoring the beauty of nature has enough to just kind of, I don't know, help you reflect and help you change your perspective about things.
There's another side of the coin. I just like going to the other side always. That's why I'm bringing that up. There's also, we sometimes assume, right, that we all want to be joyful and happy and just love and I don't know, enjoy beauty in the world. And I do think it's true. But I also have seen that there's a challenge in allowing oneself to be joyful. For some people, if they come from a specific culture or a family history of suffering, if they dare to be joyful, it's like not belonging. So there's also a mix in between our stories and how much we allow ourselves to actually enjoy what is, what's available to us in the here and now. So, even like holding love and holding joy requires a capacity. And sometimes we need to exercise kind of the muscle of receiving and having the capacity to hold beauty and joy and happiness. It's not always easy or a given. Sometimes it requires work.
Yeah, and the receiving, I think, is so hard for a lot of people to receive, right? I mean, not just gifts, but like receiving love and receiving compliments and receiving help in some way. I think that's it's difficult for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of times it feels easier to give in whatever capacity that means, but being able to receive that, I think sometimes, again, it takes surrender to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else that you want to touch on, or anything else you want to cover that we haven't addressed yet? That
Yes, I
you'd love
would
to
just
talk about?
encourage people to find their own curiosity. There's always a curiosity, like that's why there's professions. Like we have different curiosities, and that's what makes the world interesting and rich and luscious, right? Like we need to be different. That's beautiful and that's perfect. Like find that. Where's your curiosity? Where's your life energy? Are you able to tap into it inside of yourself, or do you tap into it more with the activities or the things that you enjoy doing? But I do think it matters in life just to survive life in itself and its challenges, to know where you stand, to know what is it about this world that you love, what is it about yourself that you like and you love, what is it about this experience that you want to, or even if your life circumstances might not seem like the best in the here and now, having just the curiosity, but I need to get to know this specific place in the world or in my own city, and allow that to hold you for the hopes for the future. I think it's my way of communicating that. Never try not to feel curiosity. Curiosity is what's going to get you somewhere, or to the next step you need to take in your life. And openness. Be open to everything. Everything can be a teacher. Everything can transform everything in a good way. If we allow ourselves to see that at the end, um, something expands, and with expansion comes growth, and with growth, more possibilities. So yeah, I guess that's all that I would encourage people. Just be curious about yourself and life, and that's all we need.
I love that. I stay curious and just I love asking open-ended questions, which is kind of along the same lines as the curiosity. Like be open to just whatever. And you said rich and luscious life. I love that. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Claudia. I have really enjoyed our time together, and I there's so much more. There's so many other questions I have for you, but where can people find you? What's your Instagram, your website?
My website is my name. It's Claudia Barfoot .com. And on Instagram, you can find me as The Land of Possible. That's the name that I use. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that name. I love that. Thank you so much, Claudia. It's been a pleasure. Yeah. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the host and the guest and are not intended to provide, nor are they a suitable substitute for professional care by a doctor, therapist, mental health professional, or other qualified medical professional. Thank you for listening to the Fire, Soul, and Grace podcast. Share this episode with someone in your life. Subscribe to this podcast so you can hear more valuable content on how to live your best life. Be sure to connect with us at firesoulandgracepodcast.com, and please join us in the next episode.